What is going on, Pats Nation? It's Patriots Global here, back with another video, and in this one, we got a little bit of news happening right before the New England Patriots Week 3 home matchup versus the Las Vegas Raiders. This is going to be a 2 to 3 part video. I'm thinking it's going to be just about 2 though. The Patriots play some players on injured reserve. They promoted some players. This video is going to be about the guys that were placed on injured reserve, and then the next video will be about some of the notable guys that they promoted this week. So by the title, you can probably tell that the Patriots have placed two pretty notable players here on IR. They placed center David Andrews and rookie linebacker Josh Uche on injured reserve. This is just not what you want to see, obviously. Now, thank God this is just the Oakland Raiders. This is not a top-tier defense. This is not a top-tier defensive line. The New England Patriots should be fine here. But of course, this is not just 1 week. These guys are going to be out multiple weeks with the rule this year on injured reserve. Players are only allowed to return to games after missing 3 total games. Let's also keep in mind that the New England Patriots have a bye week coming up because it is early. So technically, both Josh Uche and David Andrews will be getting at least a month off. Now, earlier it was speculated, I was told, that you were allowed to bring 3 players back from injured reserve. Thankfully, I did find out that that is not true anymore, that the rule has now been reversed to you can bring back as much players as you want from injured reserve for this season. Is this something that is going to continue to happen? I don't know. Probably not, but we're going to focus on this season, and for this season, the New England Patriots can bring back any player that they place on injured reserve, which makes me feel so much better because the Patriots, of course, have placed a plethora of players on the injured reserve. Josh Uche, David Andrews, Yannick Kajust, Bo Allen, Damian Harris, and that's obviously not the route that you want to take. Before we continue, though, guys, remember to go subscribe to my boy, NFL Broadcaster. In the description below will be the first link, and that will be to his YouTube channel. Go ahead, check him out, subscribe to him. He makes content on everything NFL. I do Patriots, of course. I do have another channel, NFL Global, where I cover all NFL news, which I would really like to hop back on soon. So if you guys do want to go subscribe to NFL Global for my return, go ahead and subscribe to that. But also subscribe to NFL Broadcaster, where he makes videos on all 32 NFL teams. He makes news on really all of the biggest news. He makes news on some of the smaller news also. And like I say in every single video about this, you guys want to go ahead and subscribe to these other guys who make other content, especially guys that make content involving all of the NFL, because it is extremely beneficial for you guys. Even though some of us really just care about the Patriots fans, I personally care about all of the NFL, but I know that some of you only want to hear about the Patriots. Keep in mind that being educated about all 32 teams helps you really understand what is going to occur with the Patriots and the matchups that they have to play. If, let's say, the 49ers have to play several players on season-ending injured reserve, or a player is going to play that game or not going to play that game, you're going to want to know about it, and NFL Broadcaster got you covered. But back to the video. So now while guys like Yannick Kajust, guys like Damian Harris, Bo Allen, they can return very shortly. Actually, I believe that this is the last week that they have to be out. The Patriots can bring any of those guys back as of next week against the Chiefs. Guys like Josh Uche, guys like David Andrews, they will not be able to come back until the game against the 49ers, pretty much entailing that they are going to be missing, of course, the Raiders game, the Chiefs game, and the Broncos game. Honestly, that is not too bad. I'm happy that this is happening now rather than later. I think that the Patriots need a guy like David Andrews, more specifically, back for a game like the 49ers, the Bills, the Ravens, the Texans, and those are games that are going to follow that. I think that, look, the Chiefs have a pretty fair defense. They do have a pretty nice defensive line. I don't think it's necessarily the Ravens or the 49ers, but I think the Patriots will be able to get around for the next few weeks. The Broncos, if they had some of their stellar pass rushers still, like Von Miller or whatnot, Derek Wolfe, I think that would be a pretty big loss for New England. But again, they lost some key pieces there, pass rush-wise, defensive line-wise, so I think they'll be okay there also. Now, while 100% you do want your starting center in David Andrews to be there for the full season, You'd at least want him to recover for the more important games, of course, as this season continues. The Patriots being able to play the Chiefs, the Raiders, and the Broncos, again, that is much better than them having to play the Texans, the Ravens, and the Bills, and the 49ers. For those of you who do not know what happened to David Andrews, basically during practice this past week or during this week heading up until the Raiders game, he ended up breaking, I believe it was his thumb. He ended up having to get surgery on it. It sounds like it's about a 3 to 4 week recovery time. I heard that he was going to try to push through it. Personally, I didn't agree with that. Your hand's broken. Not really a good idea to try to push through that. Again, place him on injured reserve now. There is a bye week included in there, so he might be missing 3 games, but that is a total of 4 weeks. He should be good by then. Of course, that brings on the question, who is going to be the Patriots starting center? Ted Karras left to be the starting center for the Miami Dolphins. Who the heck is the backup? The backup here is going to be Hjalte Froholdt, the guard/center that the Patriots drafted in the 2019 NFL Draft. That's what I predicted. That's kind of where he is on the depth chart. Versatile guy who plays all over the interior of the offensive line. I'm excited to see how he does. I don't think it's going to be David Andrews, but I think he still should be a very nice backup. We really mainly saw him at guard. That was more so in the preseason. He did not do bad at all. He did have some issues as the preseason continued, but again, that was more at guard. Didn't see him too much at the center position. A little bit about Hjalte Froholdt. He is a pretty big guy. He's going to be a nice size center for the Patriots, but he is a guy who excels more so in pass protection. When the Patriots drafted him, that was kind of his piece of cake. What he was great at was in pass protection. I'll be curious to see how he does in run blocking, but of course, the biggest concern is making sure that we have Cam protected, making sure that he doesn't have injuries, making sure that we get as much pressure off of him as humanly possible. And if Hjalte Froholdt is able to do that against the Chiefs, the Broncos, and the Raiders, which again are not terrible matchups, then we should be fine. As for Josh Uche, he has been one heck of a question mark since the start of this season. You know, he was a pretty big piece within training camp. He was a starting piece. He looked like he was going to be a nice piece. And I think week 1, he was someone that we were expecting to make a pretty fair impact, especially because this New England Patriots pass rush over the course of 2 games so far has not looked good. And that is not very, comforting, for lack of better words, in the fact that they have played the Miami Dolphins and the Seattle Seahawks, 2 teams who are more so lower bottom tier for offensive line. So that is very concerning. Josh Uche dealing with some type of foot injury. As we all know, he has not made his NFL debut yet. He's not had a single snap in the NFL. To start week 1 against the Dolphins, he was a healthy scratch. Then week 2, he ended up having that foot injury. He was taken off the injury report a little while back, looked like he was healthy, and then ended up getting put back on the injured report, and now he's being placed on the injured reserve. I have questions with Josh Uche. What is happening with him? What is the verdict? When did he get this injury? How serious is this injury? Why was he originally taken off of the injury report, then put back on, and now is being placed on the injured reserve? And even to piggyback off of that, week 1, when he was a healthy scratch, did you genuinely just not want to play him? Or was he actually dealing already with some type of foot injury, wasn't so serious at the time, at least not what you believed, and then ended up becoming something bigger? While Josh Uche might just be a rookie, he was going to be a very important rookie for this upcoming season for the fact that, look, he was a 2nd-round pick. He was going to help replace Kyle Van Noy, Jamie Collins, some of our pure pass rushing talents, because essentially we don't have that. Our best pass rusher right now easily is Chase Winovich, and Chase Winovich cannot beat an entire offensive line by himself. And if we just continue to not being able to get pressure on opposing quarterbacks, this is going to be an issue, especially when we end up playing teams that have better offensive lines, especially with our upcoming game against the Kansas City Chiefs. So definitely some questions there, definitely some concerns there also. If Josh Uche is not going to be healthy to play, Bill Belichick, please, for the love of God, do something and pick somebody up. At this point, Everson Griffin, he's off the market. Jadeveon Clowney, he's off the market too. So you're going to have to look more at a guy like maybe Clay Matthews, which we've all been saying, bring him in. We need help at pass rush. We need help at linebacker. Do something there. Even Cash Maluia. He's not really a pass rush guy, but he's been given zero chance to play so far, and he's not dealing with an injury. I just don't understand that call. But that is going to be it for today's video. A little bit more of a rant, but you got your news also at the same time. David Andrews, Josh Uche, both placed on the injured reserve. They will both be able to return Week 7 against the San Francisco 49ers, but of course meaning that they will be missing at least 3 games. That is going to be it for today's video. If you guys would like to see who they promoted, make sure to check out the next video following this one. It will be uploaded shortly. But like always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you in my next video.